Welcome to tonight's council meeting for the city of Covington, December 9th, 2021. If you can silence your phones or turn them off, we appreciate that, or put them on vibrate. If any interruptions. Roll call, please.
Councilman Lewis.
Here.
Councilman Botsford.
Here.
Councilman Roberts. Councilwoman Ludwig.
Here.
Councilman Verrett.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Rowling.
Here. If everybody can stand for a moment of silence. And let's remember Mr. Joseph Fetter and his family in your prayers. Mr. Fetter passed on November 14th. He was on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and he will be truly missed by all the citizens of this city and the parish. Now for the pledge, Mr. Clarence Romage, former city councilman for the city of Covington, please lead us in the pledge.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first on the agenda, I think everybody on the council received the Council 22 meeting calendar. I think everybody had a copy in their packet. So we would like to accept that tonight. So that being said, unless there's any questions by the council, I would just need a motion to accept the 2022 meeting calendar.
Motion to accept.
I need a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Botsford.
Yes.
Councilman Roberts. Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
Councilman Verrett.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Rowling.
Yes.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to move right on to our appearers tonight. We do have quite a few appearers tonight, and we do have a heavy schedule. So I would just ask our appearers tonight if you can limit yourself to around 5 minutes would be appreciated. If you need a minute or two afterwards, we understand, but that would be appreciated tonight. First up, we have Michael Henry, the VFW commander. Councilman Lewis.
Yes, I've known Mr. Michael Henry for a while now, and I've had the privilege of working with him and the VFW right after Hurricane Ida. And like I said, it was really a privilege working with him and the veterans up there. So I asked him to come and speak on some of the things the VFW do and how the community can be more involved with them.
Thank you, Councilman. At this time, could I ask Ms. Tiffany Ciprian to join me at the podium? To a distinguished council, honorable mayor here in our presence, greetings to all. My name is Michael Henry, commander of Ivan Huval, Post 7286. I'm very humbled and very thankful for the opportunity just to appear before you, to voice some concerns and to voice a few thank yous. First, our mission at the VFW is to foster camaraderie among United States veterans of overseas conflict, to advocate on behalf of our veterans, to care for their dependents who also sacrifice for our nation's cause. We at the VFW would also love to forge a relationship with the city's administration and their elected officials. Not only the elected officials, but also law enforcement and first responders. We don't just want to be, as the VFW, we just don't want to be in the community. We want to be able to give back to the community and support this community and be part of this community. Some of the concerns that I have to voice with you all today, this evening is, during Hurricane Ida, numerous attempts were made to try to get some help, some aid, some support from this administration. All those attempts failed. We learned that this administration directed FEMA and the Red Cross to move their operations where it could not have done no good, to an area where no good was even done and people couldn't really get the help that they really needed or that they were really seeking for. So I'm very thankful for Ms. Ciprian, and I'm thankful for, because I saw Mr. Botsford and Mr. Rowling out there, but I'm very, very thankful for Councilman Lewis, you know, who came out there and who labored with us every single day. I mean, this guy, he mopped floors, he cleaned toilets, he delivered food, you know, and we were really trying to get in touch with this administration because a lot of the Covingtonians had came to us and called us, and we actually went and picked a lot of these people up just to bring them to the VFW so that they might be able to get some of the aid and some of the help that they needed, you know. And me, being a Covingtonian, I look at our elected officials as people that were elected and put in office for the people, of the people, by the people, to see about the people, to care for the people, not just on one side of the track, but on all sides of the track. Because we all suffered during this hurricane. We all suffered during this disaster. And so I'm very thankful for Ms. Cyprian, because once we saw that nothing was going on in this community, she came to us, and she wanted us to open our doors, and she asked us to open our doors. So we're thankful for her nonprofit organization, Project's Blessing, that we were able, and I have some numbers here. On September 7th, we opened our doors, thanks to Project Blessings, to be an assistant and an aid to Covington. Not just one side, to Covington, period. On day one, we assisted 107 households with FEMA assistance and with disaster SNAP. Day two, 147 applications were submitted. On day one, we assisted residents from Covington, Hammond, Folsom, Lacombe, Abita, Gonzales, Franklinton, Bogalusa. On day two, we assisted also folk from Covington, Madisonville, Mandeville, Folsom, Natal, Benning, Abita Springs, Angie, Bogalusa, and Homer. Once the word got out what we were doing there were so many agencies and so many entities that came and just wanted to help. Some of your people came, but some came just for a photo op, but some came with a true heart to serve. And we at the VFW, what we want to do, we want to forge a relationship with you all, with our local officials, with our local law enforcement. You know, not only during times of disasters, but period, during times of cleanup in the different neighborhood, projects in the different neighborhoods. We want to be there for you. We want to be that light. We want to be able to aid you in whatever you're doing, but we also want your help. We open that shelter up, and we house people all the way from Zachary. We fed people breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but we didn't have no help from this administration. Right here sitting in our midst today, we have Mr. Norman Darling, who's a hospice. He's a hospice patient. And he's still at the VFW, but we got no help from this administration. If we're going to serve and we're going to be a plus and we're going to be something positive that our native Covingtonians can cling to and can depend on, we have to come together. We really have to do better. And at the VFW, we want to partner with every last one of you, because every last one of you have a project, every last one of you have an idea, every last one of you have a job to do. And we want to try to hold you to that accountability that you do your job, that when disasters come, we not only want you to just look at one side of the track, we want you to care for those people that do not have transportation to get to where they need in order to get the aid that they're seeking. Because a lot of them suffered. A lot of them still displaced. And we're just asking you tonight, would you just please open up your heart of compassion. And if you're going to serve in Covington, please do it with a pure heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Okay, anything from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Henry, if you would. Might have some things I'd like to say on that.
Okay.
Number one, we appreciate what you guys do at VFW.
VFW.
Okay. And you all took the initiative to do what you did, trying to supply people with water or whatever, food, etc. What is it specifically that you asked the administration to do that well, and I'm not administration, but that we failed to do?
This is what I feel like you failed to do. A FEMA truck came into the neighborhood, but they were moved to the outskirts of the neighborhood. When they were moved out to the outskirts of the neighborhood, people had no access to get to them in order to fill out the proper paperwork they needed in order to get FEMA assistance, nor FEMA SNAP food stamps. So those people in turn called us. They dialed my cell phone number, they dialed Councilman Lewis's cell phone number, they dialed Tiffany's cell phone number, and we actually went and picked these people up in our personal POVs to bring them there to the VFW to make sure that they not only had their paperwork filled out and submitted, the things that they needed, also personal hygiene items, ice, food.
And what would it be that you wanted to see
From the
City of
administration?
Covington do? Yes. Go out there and have
This-
personal vehicles?
Because
Is that what you're saying?
No, not your personal vehicle. We just wanted you to come out there and say, what could we do to help?
Do you?
Because let me answer your question. Because maybe you had a vehicle or tool or portal to where you could have called somebody and say, hey, look, out here at the VFW, they need a truckload of ice. They need a truckload of goods. That would have helped our cause greatly.
So we could have possibly found some people who would like to have donated.
Yes.
to-
Not only donate, but to also come out and give some of their time and their energy and their strength to help serve some of the people that actually elected some of the people that's sitting in this panel
Let
tonight.
me interject this, too. It's a pretty big city. A lot of people were affected. The administration, as well as a lot of these council people that are sitting up here, we weren't sitting back watching cartoons, okay?
I never said you was.
We had a lot on our plate. We still have a lot on our plate, okay? I don't know if you know what, I'm gonna let the administration take over from here because I'm sure they've got some things they may want to interject here as to responsibilities and legally what we can and cannot do.
So I wanted to say something first, Mr.
Councilman
Henry.
Roxburgh,
I
and
really
then we'll
appreciate.
let the administration answer anything they would like.
Yeah, I really appreciate everything, Mr. Henry. I'm the one that got the convoy of hope for y'all.
Thank you.
And not only that, even though I wasn't at your VFW for those days, I'm still out there with Peter and everybody else, just delivering ice, delivering hot meals and stuff like that, by bike, by foot, by everything to people and stuff like that. And I did see, I think that, I have to say, the VFW went above and beyond, and I think it's a great asset, and I think you are right. I think that we can work together with you during storms and stuff like that to get things like the Convoy of Hope and other assets brought to the people that have no access. And I just want to say I really do appreciate everything y'all
And I appreciate everything because even after a period of time, you and I stayed in contact with each other so that you can offer me help, anything, any phone calls, anybody you can contact, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Peter, you know, too, I mean, I was in contact with Senator McMath and coordinated the huge ice truck and everything. I mean, I do think just because we weren't at your specific facility, I think a lot of us did, like, I know our particular group of friends, like, did meals and delivered them into the community you're speaking about. So I think, you know, a lot of us were pretty involved in a lot of it, but I do agree that the VFW does awesome things, and Peter went above and beyond for sure, and I commend him.
Listen,
for that.
let me say this. I understand that the disaster affected everybody. I understand that. It even affected me, you know, because my wife and I, we slept in my hot house for weeks, okay? But at the same time, I understood and I knew that I had a greater calling on my life because I was elected by not only my comrades to serve, but I was also looked upon in the community to give of my time and my help. So sometimes I had to look beyond what was really going on with me in order to serve a greater good. And I'm not saying I don't appreciate the phone calls for the ice and everything, but I'm just saying sometimes we have to look beyond what's going on with us, our situation, our circumstances, you know, in order to help those people that are less fortunate than ourselves.
And before we let the administration, if they have any comments, and I appreciate, I think two of the councilmen had mentioned how widespread this was. You said it was widespread. I don't know if the VFWs from other cities and parishes came into the VFW hall there to help.
You know
I
what?
don't know if they did or not.
They did, because the VFW from Lacombe donated some household shingles and roofing goods, and other VFWs from other cities, they also donated.
And
Yes.
I believe the administration will probably tap on this a little bit, but we know there's different levels from the federal level to the parish level to the city level. Here we are trying to clear streets. We're trying to get people relocated if need be. No one has electricity. No one has internet. So it is extremely widespread. But I'll turn it over to the administration if you have any comments, and then.
Can I say something real quick, Larry?
Of course.
I think we need to kind of focus on the point he was trying to make, is that he want to form a relationship with this council and the administration for future disasters, which is kind of the same point I was saying in prior meetings. I think we kind of taking it personal when responding to what Mr. Henry is saying. There were many things that could have been done differently that could have helped many people in the city. And when he say resources moved outside the city, there were many resources moved out. I believe at even one point there was a call to the administration to come out to the VFW and just come out and say something like on the news or something, and that was turned down. So we were all affected. My house still not fixed because I was out helping the community. So I'm last finding contractors, getting things done. But we need to remember what his main point was. We need to form a relationship, whether it's VFW or a nonprofit like Project Blessing, or everybody on the council like we did, whether behind doors or front line like I was. We have to be better prepared for the next. For example, I believe Slidell's already taken the initiative to prepare for the next storm by passing an ordinance in case another storm hit, to have supplies on hand. I don't see why this council can't look at that same solution.
I'd just like to say, I think what Commander is saying, I've done disaster relief multiple times. My husband and I was affected as well, and when we reached out, they opened their doors, and we actually stayed at the VFW as well for a while. But I think moving forward is building the relationship. But I just wanted to elaborate on when Mr. Smith asked what the city could have done to help us, basically. We're not asking anybody to just leave their family and come do anything. But there needs to be a plan for disaster. We had an ice truck delivered, and we needed a forklift. I'm sure the city has those. Maybe they could have sent somebody. So we reached out, Pool Lumber sent their guy over. But I mean, just maybe moving forward, even with liabilities and things like that, it's a disaster. We have to come together and work together to meet the needs of the people. And I'm not saying anybody should leave their family. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we all should be able to help each other, coming together as a community. And building a relationship, I think, is very important with the VFW. There's lots of veterans there that can be active in our community and are wanting to be active in the community. So I think moving forward, we need a disaster plan for our city. Commander made multiple calls to the city. We hadn't got calls back. And as far as sending resources outside of the area, the director of Red Cross told us on the phone that the city, they were advised that the city didn't need it in those areas. They needed to go to a more affected area. So that's a quote from the Red Cross director. That's why Commander addressed that. But I just think we need a disaster plan where everybody's together and can work together and get on the same page.
We appreciate the comments. Anyone from the administration?
Let me begin by clarifying that the city administration never directed any FEMA resources at any point in time. Red Cross may have told you that. The parish redirected those resources. I never had a conversation with FEMA asking me what I needed or what they wanted to do. They showed up at the First Baptist Church unannounced to me. FEMA was operating, and their job, FEMA's responsibility as far as those locations where you can pick up ice and things, that's them providing those resources that individuals need at that time. They can do that. The city is not in the position to deliver those kind of food, ice, and those kind of things. And I believe, according to, it's not even legal. We can't start buying things and giving them to people. We can't do that.
So you're saying you,
I'm not finished. Local government's primary role in storm recovery is public safety. That's the number one goal we have. And our first priority, and it started Monday morning after the storm, before the winds died down, we started clearing the streets. We've had this conversation. The fire department and public works were out in the streets with chainsaws so that we could get ambulances to the hospital, so that the VFW could go pick people up and bring them to the FEMA. How did they do that? They did that on the streets that we cleared. Our push crews were on site as of lunchtime and began clearing the streets. The power could not be restored until the streets were cleared. By Tuesday evening, we had cleared so many streets that by Wednesday morning, CLECO flew over and said, let's go to Covington. Their streets are cleared, we can start rebuilding the power grid, which they did over the next couple of weeks. We should also remember at that time, our Public Works Department was focused on sewer lift stations, the biggest ones having generators, others operating off of portable generators. Again, public safety, if the sanitary system is not working correctly, we've got a health issue. Our next priority would be to reestablish sewer treatment, communication, and also writing down. We had a little tropical storm coming down on us. The the tributaries were blocked at the roads. We're out there cleaning those things. That's my focus. My focus was on the public safety of the community as a whole. In hindsight, when we reviewed this and we had this discussion at council, we realized that we were lacking something, and that was a city liaison to coordinate between those people who were in need and those people that had the resources. That was the thing that we were missing. And from there, we appointed Officer Courtney Graves. We've had multiple meetings with her where she is now in position that she will be the contact person for the city when someone's got resources. Hey, I have resources. Someone has needs. That would have been the person that we needed to come back and be in. We didn't have that person, and now we do.
then we should have had that person then, Mr. Mayor, in all due respect
Well-
to, in all due respect to what you're saying. I understand that you're saying that you had people on the ground here, you had people on the ground there, but in the West 30s, there was nobody. As a matter of fact,
I call bullshit. I was in the West 30s. We were in the West 30s.
That's very disrespectful, Mr. Mayor. I say it with all respect.
Yeah, I know
That's
you did.
very disrespectful.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I was on the ground in the West 30s. There were crews of tree cutters that were stationed and sleeping in the VFW that actually went in the West 30s to do what you said that your people was doing, but they wasn't in the West 30s. I mean, if we're going to tell the truth, let's just be honest.
Mr. Henry, I think this is not the forum for this. I think I appreciate you bringing up some concerns. I think the mayor has appointed someone for the future. So I think, looking back, there's probably some things we all could have done differently because it was so widespread. My recommendation is, since we do understand some of the frustration that happened before and the mayor has appointed someone, that now it opens the door for an opportunity for everyone to maybe talk about it for the next disaster, which is hopefully a long way coming. So I would ask Councilman Lewis, yourself, someone from the administration, the appointee, Ms. Tiffany over there, because y'all have a lot of resources to get together and maybe have that dialogue for the next disaster so we can move forward. So I think enough, unless somebody has something else on the panel up here, the council members, we'll appreciate maybe that meeting coming together, and Councilman Lewis maybe can bring the parties together in one room.
I do. As parish president, I think we all have a level of respect for everyone that get up here and speak. Now, that mayor was very disrespectful to someone I invited to come up here and speak. I think you need to address the code of conduct as people come in here and speak.
Well, I'm sure if the mayor wants to say anything at this point to apologize for that, that would be nice. But I understand where you're coming from, and again, I think the door is open for some more communication about this issue.
Commander, I apologize. I was out of line for the words I chose. I respectfully disagree with your assessment.
Thank you. I respectfully
Thank you, Mr.
disagree with your
Henry. We
assessment.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you all so much.
And I
Eric.
think the door is open for maybe a future meeting with the right parties to go ahead and move forward for the next disaster. We want it all to be as smooth as possible, but of course, we were all surprised by Ida and its devastation, and I think there was a lot of stress, and we can all learn from that, but we appreciate
Mr.
you coming
President,
here.
all I wanted to say is, we all could have done better. That's it. From the top to the bottom, there are more things that could have been done.
We appreciate
for
the
your
comments.
time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have Ms. Tiffany Magera Cyprian with the VFW Inaugural Indoor Market. Councilman Lewis?
Yes, again, I've enjoyed the pleasure of working with Ms. Tiffany for a while now, and she's now incorporating other ideas to work with the VFW and also get other vendors and the community involved. So Tiffany, if you would, come up and tell us about the event coming up.
Good afternoon again, guys. I'm Tiffany, and I've actually partnered with the VFW. Their membership numbers are up, but their funding is low. Their membership is not very expensive, so I have agreed. Previous Council Callahan had pulled me in to try to help the VFW raise funds. So this Saturday, December 11th, they're having their first inaugural indoor-outdoor market. It's going to be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have over 60 vendors. We have a vendor coming as far as from Denison, Texas. We have some coming from Gonzales. I would be honored and privileged if some of you guys want to stop by, say hi. Moving forward, we're working on doing a resource festival for local businesses, organizations that have information, which would be good going forward. So Saturday, December 11th, 8 to 4 at the VFW, which is at 2013 Ronald Reagan Highway.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And anything from council? Good? Thank you so much. We appreciate it very much. Okay, next on the appearer list, we have Michael Williamson, with the President and Chief Executive Officer of the United Way. Thank you. Councilman Lewis?
Roll. Thank you, Michael, for showing up. Again, I met Michael in the process of bringing the Prosperity Center over to Covington. If you haven't been, there's a lot of resources there for the entire community. Michael, so I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, I'll be really, really brief. And just to follow on to the last conversation, if there's any way that, we have Southeast Louisiana can be helpful in both the disaster preparation that has to take place, because clearly that's important, but following disaster as well. Like many, we were boots on the ground here in Covington. Actually spent some time, I know, with the mayor as we handed out water and gift cards to families to offer some immediate financial assistance. We actually handed out $25,000 worth of gift cards to residents that stood in line or sat in line in their cars for a long time to wait for that. And we're currently focused on addressing unmet needs in all the parishes we serve. We serve 7, including St. Tammany. And so we'll be supporting the long-term recovery committees. We've committed $1 million to that entire process, which won't go very far across 7 parishes, but we are committed to leveraging the resources we have. So in the future, with the VFW and others, if we can partner, we'd be glad to. And we do have the ability to mobilize resources from other regions and around the country and the world, in fact, when folks want to support communities that are affected by crisis, and they see United Way as a great place to do that. So if we can be a help, we'd love to. But just real quick, I wanted to, many of you understand that the Prosperity Center is literally a stone's throw away. We're already making an impact in Covington and throughout St. Tammany Parish. And so just want to give you a quick update, and certainly as you think about how you might support us in the future, we'd like to be at the table with you to talk about that. But so far, we've helped about 93 individuals with our financial education classes. We currently just rolled out another series of free financial education classes that are going to be offered at the center right over here. We'll make sure you have that information so you can spread it around, because it's free and it's great information. It's something many of us could benefit from, financial education, the work that Shakita and her team do over there. We've also provided 67 families with rental assistance. Much of this stemmed from the effects of COVID on our communities, and so many families are struggling with paying their rent. So through the Prosperity Center, we've been able to help a number of families with their rental assistance. We expect that to continue for some time as we continue to raise resources. We continue to try to find funding to be able to help with that, because we know many families are still being challenged with keeping up with their rent as they're challenged with employment or low wages. So that's just a quick update. There's a lot more going on at the center. If you haven't had a chance to visit, I know Councilman Lewis has, but if you haven't had a chance to visit, it's a beautiful space. It's a treasure for the community, and we want it to be used as much as possible. And once again, if there's anything that we can do, in Southeast Louisiana to help, not just the West 30s, but the entire town of Covington, we'd be glad to sit at the table and discuss those things with you. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. There's lots of things on the plan for this year and ways we can create an impact, especially in Covington, and especially in the West 30s, because that's exactly the reason we located where we did. We specifically want to create an impact in the West 30s.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could get that to us digitally, like in a JPEG, that would be awesome.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything? Okay, we do appreciate you being in the community and helping our community. Again, you're welcome anytime. If there's anything you need to tell us, any news, but we appreciate it.
We'll make sure you get it. Thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have Mr. Mike Ganusa with the VFW, and I know Councilman Roberts isn't here tonight, so if you want to come on up, sir. Thank you. Oh, I apologize. The Boys and Girls Club has been postponed for her. No, you fine, sir. I'm sorry. She has been moved to January. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just here to talk about what we did after the storm, as the VFW did. I guess the question maybe many of you have is why would the VFW would be a good place for the shelter? Well, the members there who run the VFW have been in those situations before, where we've seen refugees and the worst that humanity can have, and we have a good experience with that. So that's what makes us a good shelter, because it helps us manage the people that need to come through. It was a tough 15 days. I think I worked 15 days in a row after we got up and running. It was extremely grueling. It was tough seeing all those people that come in and they tell you that they don't have a house. And you hear that again and again and again and again. So that's gets really grueling. You know, I saw a couple come in and they lost their house and they were in complete shock. Shock like I hadn't seen since Iraq. They were completely lost. I hadn't seen that in years. So that was a pretty tough moment. What else we did? We did lots of FEMA applications. We fed lots of people. Got food from the Cracker Barrel, and we fed breakfast and dinner, usually. We had people come, like they said, from all over. They came from all over the state, wherever they could get help. I guess most people do not know what the VFW actually does, what our purpose is. Our purpose is to reintegrate combat vets back into society. That's mainly our main mission, to support the combat vets as much as anything. That's what our mission is to do. Whether we have to, have somebody live there at our place because he doesn't have a place right now. So that's what we're available for. So that's our main mission as the VFW. We are going to start doing group therapy for PTS, for veterans with PTSD at the end of January, hopefully. We don't have a date yet, but it's something upcoming that we're going to do. Let's see. That's all I got for the VFW, and then I was just going to talk about my personal experiences with the storm. The area where I live in Wood Springs Court, it's a little cul-de-sac, and we had sewage in our front yard for about 10 days. And one of my neighbors is here. It was like 10 days, right? It was about 10 days. It started about 48 hours after the storm. Sewage started coming up. And in that cul-de-sac, it was there, just in that area, just those 4 or 5 houses. And you couldn't flush your toilet sometimes, right? You didn't want to flush your toilet, and you didn't want to use your laundry. You couldn't do laundry at the time either, right?
Right, it actually built up
In the ditch.
the manholes
Yeah.
where it catches out, alcohol comes from every area, and it was popping the caps off, and then the pressure was pushing.
Yeah, the pressure was pushing them that far out. So basically, everybody else in that neighborhood got to use their sewage except for us. It wasn't so bad for me because I wasn't living there at the time. I was living at my parents' house because they had a generator, and I didn't. But that area also is very prone to flooding. Even my house hasn't flooded yet, but it's gotten really close a couple times in the last 4 years. Like as close as the water's gotten up to the garage, because that area has a ditch behind it that needs to be dug out, and it hasn't been dug out in a while. So that's it. That's all I got.
We can,
Any comments?
Yes.
Mike's house, Wayne's house, Randy's house, and my house were the only ones in that entire end of the subdivision. Have to sandbag the garage door, the front door. We had human waste with shovels for 2 days, with shovels and rakes. And, Mr. Joey Roberts came out, finally got in touch with him. He came out with the fire department and flushed the ditches because of the toilet paper from other people's homes in our cul-de-sac. And the last thing that I want to add, and I'm glad that Mike brought it up, is where it floods, what Mike's talking about, the drainage culvert, the ditch is lower than the culvert, and the underground transformer that sits between our house and Mike's house, is underwater. And that's safety in itself. And we're talking about health, we're talking about safety. That area, that cul-de-sac, our HOA doesn't do anything about it, there's garbage can police, that's all we call them, garbage can police, we're about garbage can. We went to them, but, we finally got in touch with Joey through Mike, and, got the fire department, we had to clean the ditches, it was snow. But, I want to thank Joey, even though he's not here, but I appreciate Mike bringing it up. I'm here to support Mike with the VFW mission, and I'll be there Saturday.
Okay, cool.
I'm also here to support our cul-de-sac. And one thing I did want to add, they shared this generator with the city, and all these different subdivisions. They would run it and pump out the lines. All we're asking, we need something done with the drainage, we need a generator that stays there. Every subdivision needs a generator, so you don't have human waste and all the issues. So, appreciate your time, thank you very much.
Councilman Smith?
yeah, Mr. Janusa, can I call you Mike? Jan, sounds like you just need to put in for a few work orders. I'm assuming your councilman is Joey?
Yeah.
Okay. He'll be happy, well, he's sick. If you shoot me an email, I'll get a work order and request that they come look at the ditch, the drainage ditch that you said hasn't been cleaned out in some time.
Yes.
We can do that, okay? I suspect what you're speaking of with a generator, there was a lift station issue, more than likely. That's why y'all had the sewer issues, and that's why the city was spending so much time and effort trying to get those lift stations back up and running. Sometimes it's advantageous to have portable generators as opposed to one that sits there year-round. And I'll let Public Works tell you why, but they've told me why. And it's a little bit drawn out. But that's probably a lift station issue, which you want isolated. That was throughout the whole city after the hurricane, after Ida. And that's what our Public Works Department and Administration was really attacking. And I'm sorry it happened, but as far as the drainage with the ditch that you feel like needs to be looked at and cleaned out, I'm sure they'll be able to go out there and assess it and do something about that. So if you shoot me an email, because Joey's sick, I'll be happy to forward a work order for you, okay?
So,
You need to get your homeowners association to pay. Nobody's going to pay. That's our
Sure, to me, it'd be like my wife showing me something I need to fix.
Well, I just wanted to,
Okay,
Yeah.
Councilman Boxford, you have a
Mr.
comment?
News and stuff, and if, in this budget, I'm sure the administration can address this and stuff, that there's all that, we've approved, in District B as well, a ton of improvements to our drainage, and they're going to be addressing issues like that. And I think that it'd only be fair to let them speak, as I'm sure they're aware of the problem. I'm sure they probably already have a plan.
Councilman Smith, to clarify, it's not the ditch in front of his house, it's Blue Swamp Creek, which we've been in the permitting process for a 404 permit. I posted yesterday on, in the Barclay Park Facebook page, I've posted the link. We're in the public comment period for the permit to clear out, desnag and clean Blue Swamp Creek. And many of your fellow neighbors have gone on that link and put in the comment, yes, Corps of Engineers, we want this cleaned out. The city council has already budgeted the money. The city's ready. We're ready. It's that doggone U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. No, I'm just, you know, the bureaucracy of the. But anyway, we have applied for that permit, and we were in the comment period. And once we have that permit, we'll go out to bid, hire a contractor, sign a contract, and desnag and clear Blue Swamp Creek.
I do agree with you, because I think it is downstream. I don't think it's right there, but the problem is when they came out and dug, they didn't dig anywhere else in the subdivision except in our cul-de-sac, and they actually dug up our neighbor's sewage line going through.
So Mike, with that clarification, we don't need to do a work order. Okay?
Yeah,
We're just waiting on the
Assuming
Corps of
it's something
Engineers
the
to
same
issue a
thing,
permit.
but, yeah, it's a drainage, just basically behind it. But it's called the creek though, is the thing where? Okay, all right.
Okay. We appreciate the comments, and we appreciate what you do at the VFW. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Clarence Romage, again, the former councilman for the city of Covington. And I know Councilman Roberts is under the weather tonight, and I know you spoke to quite a few of us already, so if you want to go ahead and take the podium.
I did. Thank you for allowing me to appear. Like you mentioned, I sent an email to pretty much every one of the council members regarding this. I wish it was a pleasant thing, as you know, like the VFW and everything they do. But what I'm here tonight to ask is a little bit more unpleasant. We here in Covington, and every one of you know it, are seeing a massive growth spurt. It's single-family homes. It's multifamily complexes, high density, low density. It's coming from every direction. So what I'm here tonight to ask is, and when I ask this, it's going to be, it's based on the short term, but hopefully it's going to stem something long term. I'm going to ask for a 180-day moratorium on issuing permits to any high-density project in the city of Covington. And the reason I ask that is, we've got drainage problems, we've got traffic problems, we've got, just this population boom. I sat down and, when I was on the council, we always talked about our daytime population versus our nighttime population. So I sat down today just trying to figure some numbers up. And schools alone, we have over 6,000 students in the city of Covington that come to school. Over 500 staff members. There's 1,500 alone at Covington High, with about, I want to say it was 70 staff members. So we have all these cars on the road. We've got all of this, these drainage problems. So what I'm hoping is that, we can either, give this to a committee, form a committee, and do an in-depth look at what we have and where we need to go. The police department, the police department's finally getting back to where, they can hire, they've got guys hired, and they still can't handle everything, the traffic accidents and the crime. But it's to be expected when you have that many people now in your city. The sewer treatment plant, I know it maxes out every time it rains. We've got, the mayor's working on the drainage and the sewerage. But we've got more leaky pipes here in Covington. I can remember years and years ago when we did the smoke test, it looked like we were on fire in the city. It's getting better. I don't want to be all complaints, but it's getting better. But I think the growth is beating us. It's going faster than what we can control. And that's what I think we need. We need controlled growth. So what I'm asking is that on these big projects, and I'm going to make the same plea to the parish, on these big projects, we just need to back off until we have a real traffic study done, a drainage study done. We know Blue Swamp Creek, I can't say how many times I've said Blue Swamp Creek over the past week. I've droned over the entire Blue Swamp Creek, Oak Alley Meadows, pretty much everything north of Ronald Reagan. And to say that it's snagged is an understatement. I'm just hoping that the Corps lets us do it fully and not like they did with Katrina. You can take the trees out that fell for Katrina, but nothing else. So that's what I'm here today to do. I know you guys are busy. Y'all have a big agenda still ahead of you, so I'm going to be quick. I'm going to ask that someone can, take this horn, bull by the horns, get us a resolution drawn up, maybe apply it to a committee, and I'm just asking that we can put the brakes on multifamily, high-density projects for a little while.
What I think we probably need to do, we appreciate it, and again, I think everybody kind of understands because you sent us some information on this. The recommendation from myself would be, we have a planning and zoning committee. It's chaired by Councilman Roberts. Also, Councilman Smith and Councilman Lewis sit on that committee. So I would just recommend to Councilman Roberts to maybe get together the committee with your concerns and to see what comes out of committee at this point. With your help and your knowledge and recommendations, and then they can take it from there. So that's what my hope would be. And I know, Joey's under the weather, so we'll get with him after the meeting and maybe recommend that. Yeah.
Clarence, I appreciate everything you said, and I'm in complete agreement with you. A moratorium for 180 days, it would give us time to sit down with P&Z Commission, review our subdivision codes and regulations that we have. We may want to, personally, I would like to have it beefed up, make it a little bit stricter. I'm not sure how we compare with subdivision regulations with the parish. It may be tougher there than it is to build in the city, I'm not sure. But this density that we're talking about, these large developments, I don't think we can personally allow them to continue the way it's going. The city just, it won't be it won't be a place where there's quality of life that we'll be bragging about. Traffic studies, drainage, and building regulations need to be re-examined, in my opinion. And I think that 180-day, 6-month period would give us an opportunity. I don't want to just call everything off and do nothing. I mean, we really have to get some commitments from, and I spoke to the chairperson for P&Z, and he's in total agreement also, and he would be willing to sit down and look at these regulations with us that we have in place now and give us some really good suggestions to consider, okay? And I think you got a very valid point. So thank you for being here and sharing that with us. And
thank you, guys. And, look, I also want to go off and say, I was on the council when Katrina hit, and I mean, it was bad. So here we had Ida. I keep calling Ida the tree event, because that's exactly what it was. Of course, in New Orleans for Katrina, I had to deal with water. You guys are doing a great job. I mean, I think administration, he talks about getting the streets open. When I was on the council, I was out there with the chainsaw with the fire department. VFW, I mean, look, I live across the street from you guys over at Oak Alley, and I think y'all do a great thing, and I have in-laws that live in Barclay Park. I know all about the sewer, so, fortunately in what I do in my daily profession, I have a lot of resources, so I'll extend that to you guys if you guys ever need it. Just reach out and let me know.
I just wanted to say one thing
Councilman
too.
Box.
So I agree with you 100%, and Councilman Smith, but I also think one of the largest things, and to me it's just so frustrating, is the parish. They rubber stamp everything. Even if we'd agree not to annex them in, it's that they get the rubber stamp. It's like, hey, give me your fee. And it's just like, when you go to the parish, I'd like to go with you. So if we can exchange the contact information, because I've seen some pretty bad things over there, and I would be more than happy to go with you.
I mean, and this, like I said in my email, and I know you guys are busy, but our kids on school buses, our school buses are sitting on the road an average of 30 minutes longer than they used to a few years ago, with all the traffic. Now, this is a bad season right now, a lot going on after the storm, but anyhow, I'll be back in touch, and if you don't mind, Rick, just I'll give you a call.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming, and we'll get Councilman Roberts kind of involved in that with the committee and calling them together and yourself. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move right on to the consent calendar. The regular meeting minutes, November 2nd, 2021. I need a motion to accept, please.
Motion to accept.
Second? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis, Councilman Botsford.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move right on to the regular agenda. And number one, we have public hearing action item number 2021-10-01, an ordinance of the City of Covington adopting the 2021 operating budget and the 5-year capital outlay budget for years 2022-2026 for the City of Covington. I'm sorry, one second. I apologize, adopting the 2022 operating budget. My apologies. Obviously, every year we go through this process, and we've gone through it this year. We, all our council got the budget books. I think it was in our October meeting, because of Ida, kind of pushed us a little bit, and the administration had a lot on their plate, and we appreciate them getting that budget to us as soon as possible due to Ida. And we also had a workshop on November 17th, committee meetings discussing some of the changes with the budget. And I appreciate every single councilman up here, and also Councilman Roberts that's not here, that worked very hard on getting this right. So tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Erin Bavova, and you can tell us a little bit of the amendments. Thank you.
Okay, so after we introduced the budget and we had some budget hearing, there were some council committee meetings that were held. And between administration and council, there were some proposed amendments that were put together. I submitted a list to all of you with these proposed amendments between administration and council. And altogether, it's about 60 items. So Rod concurred that what we could do is I can summarize for you what these are, just very simply. But what we can do is kind of, if you decide to move forward, you can take this list and then you can adopt it as an amendment to the budget before the budget is adopted. So altogether, the changes to the proposed budget result in a total budget reduction of $537,000. The majority of that can be attributed to the fact that we are holding off on the large meter installation contract for our water meters. That was a $500,000 capital project. We're going to continue to do some evaluation on what that should actually cost, and we will revisit that with you later in the year. Aside from that, we did some corrections to the council uniform and training budgets. We did some reallocation of planned IT expenses. This is one of the items that results in the list being so long because it hits 13 different departments, and every organ object code has to be specified for the amendment to be accepted. We did some reduction to a position for Amy Fauché, who was retiring in March. We had some increases to property and flood insurance premiums for our facilities. We made some changes to the Covington concert band and the Sparks in the Park event. We added a speed enforcement trailer for the police department. We removed the council chambers audio and video upgrades, so while y'all decide what you think you need for the council chambers. We increased Juneteenth and the MLK events from $2,500 each to $5,000 each, and it included $50,000 for Ozone Park for playground equipment. So that generally summarizes, other than minor edits and changes, typos, things like that, that pretty much summarizes the changes to the budget.
Thank you very much. And we'll have council comments in a minute, but let's open it up for any public comments. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd make that motion. I will entertain a motion to amend the budget.
Well, let's go to council comments real
No
quick.
comments? We
Yeah.
have any?
So we closed in the public comments, public hearing. I need a motion to close that public hearing. I need a second and a motion.
So moved.
Motion to close.
So moved. Second.
Okay? And then also, now, we're going to go right to council comments on this matter. Anything? I think we all had time to review it. I think administration has done a great job. Thank you very much. Now, I would entertain a motion to amend the budget.
I will entertain a motion to amend the budget.
Okay? Provided by the administration, or?
What's that?
Okay.
I will make a motion to amend the proposed budget per the list of the amendments provided by the administration.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
All righty, got that part of it done. Thank you, sir. All right, now that we have the amendments on the budget that have been approved, I will open up any comments from the public before the vote is taken for the amended 2022 budget. So I'm opening for public comments. Anybody from the public that would like to have any comments on behalf of this? Seeing none, hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close?
I need a second.
Second.
Now entertain a motion on the budget as amended.
I will make a motion to adopt the budget as amended.
I need a second, please. Roll call, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis, Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Public hearing action, item number 2021-10-01, an ordinance of the City of Covington setting the compensation of the mayor of the City of Covington for the year 2022. Again, this is an annual item as part of the budget, and I would ask the administration to go ahead and have any comments on this.
So annually, the council approves an ordinance, we introduce an ordinance, and you have to pass an ordinance for the mayor's compensation. So that's what this is. It was introduced when the budget was introduced. Per the mayor's request, this ordinance maintains the same compensation that was in place when he was elected in 2019.
We appreciate that. That being said, we're going to open it up for any public comments. Seeing none, hearing none, I will, if I have a motion to close the public hearing,
Motion to close.
Second.
and then any council comments on this matter. And we appreciate the mayor keeping the same compensation from 2019. We really do appreciate that. I'm sure the citizens appreciate it too. I do need a motion to adopt. Moving on.
Motion to adopt.
Second, please. Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis, Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on. Public hearing action item number 2021-11-01, an ordinance of the City of Covington amending the established and adopted Chapter 83, Fees, Article 3, Public Records, Request Fees, Section 83-3, Schedule of Public Records Request Fees. Wow. Okay. So I think what it comes down to, our council clerk, Ms. Rucker, the maps on CDs and DVDs and zip drives and all that good stuff is costing a lot more money. So this is really just to kind of tweak the pricing on that. In the ordinance, it states the changes on the fees. It's not very much at all. I know the council has received all this information, the administration has received it, so I think everybody seems to be okay with what's in there. So what we're going to do at this point, unless the administration have any comments on this?
No, just a point of clarification I can offer is that to amend the fee schedule, we have to do it by ordinance. The council has to adopt an ordinance, and this is for requests for public records, which the city cannot absorb the cost of those requests, so it is to cover the materials and the administration costs for putting the information together.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll go right into public comments. Any public comments? Seeing none, hearing none. If I can get a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion to close.
Second.
Second, good. And I do need a motion to adopt at this time.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Lewis. Councilman Botsford.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
Councilman Verret.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Rowling.
Yes, thank you. Public hearing action item number 2021-1102, an ordinance of the City of Covington declaring a certain portion of property to be outside of the Division of St. John. Councilman Smith.
Okay, well, St. John's boundary map, I mean, you can go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and there's been some discrepancy of whether or not the boundary includes a piece of property right off of Boston Street, or if that piece of property is outside the Division of St. John. And we were lucky enough to have Mr. Nichols. I think most of the council's familiar with him. Guy does all the research and the historian. No offense. Excuse me? I thought it was Mr. Nicholson. I thought it was Mr. We had conversation, we got the wrong name. Who did the research? Okay, so Jack did it. Okay, but anyhow, we had a group meeting and we sat in. I can't recall who was in it. Let's see. I was in it. The city attorney Rod was in it. And anybody else up there when we were looking at that map? Joey Roberts. Okay, correct. And Nikita, our planning and zoning director. And we all came to the decision that this was never included in the Division of St. John. The borderline was right there, but it was on the other side, okay? So, with that said, the owners of that property fairly asked the city to look at this and make a determination, and I suggested, as well as that group in that meeting, that we would say that property is not included in the Division of St. John's. You have any questions on that part?
No, I'll just point out that since it's in my district, I also met with the city attorney, and I concur.
Good, thank you.
Anything from the administration? Okay.
I think you summarized
Sure.
it. From a technical standpoint, Mr. Terry referred to a headright line as the John Morton Collins line. And in fact, this property lies due east of the John Morton Collins line, which to him meant it would not have been subjected to being in the Division of St. John. The chain of title is not the John Morton chain of title. John Morton Collins did sell the lots to the west of this line, but nothing to the east of the line. The original descriptions of the property going back to the 1800s never referred to it as being in the Division of St. John. The official planning map of the city in Nikita's office does not have it in the Division of St. John. The issue only arose in the mid to late 1950s when some surveyors started imposing the Division of St. John over what had never been described as being in the Division of St. John. The city gave a building permit to build this little strip center on the property, which they wouldn't have done if they would have believed it was the Division of St. John because it crossed the lot line. So
Right.
it's our conclusion that it would not have been within the John Morton Collins property title for him to
projected to be in the division of St. John.
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, we'll do, thank you, we appreciate that. We'll open it up for any public comments. Seeing none, hearing none. I just need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Need a second?
Second.
And then I do need a motion to adopt, please.
Motion to adopt.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Botsford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig?
Yes.
Councilman Verret?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Rowling?
Yes.
Councilman Lewis?
All right, thank you. Moving on, public hearing action item number 2021-1103, an ordinance of the City of Covington amending the Covington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Professional Services Contracts, Section 2-09, Section Review Panels, and Section 2-210, Selection of Community Panel Representatives of Professional Service Contracts other than legal services to reconstruct and selective review panel compensation, I think it says, in a selecting process. Okay, so administration, do you want to?
Sorry about the title.
Yeah, that's long,
So,
but it's okay.
so this is an ordinance that I propose to revisit the requirements in the code for the selection of the evaluation committee members for requests for proposals. At this point, it leads us to coordinate with the Council of Chambers and the North Shore Business Council to identify those members. And so for the sake of time and efficiency, I am proposing that we change the composition of that panel to include the project manager that is overseeing that contract or his designee, an appointee of the council, and an appointee of the mayor for the evaluation committee. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to open it up for public comments, then we have council comments. Anyone from the public? Okay. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public.
Motion to close.
Second, please.
Second.
All right, and I need a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Ludwig?
Yes.
Councilman Verret?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Rowling?
Yes.
Councilman Lewis? Councilman Botsford?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Resolution number 2021-08. This item was tabled at the April 13th, 2021 council meeting. A resolution of the Covington City Council recognizes the new designation of Council District A. Councilman Lewis?
Thank you, Larry. As you said, back in April, we tabled this, and during that time, I did some research, talked to the community, even put out a survey on trying to come up with a more attractive name for District A as opposed to what is currently called as West 30s. And talking with the NAACP and some other elderly people in the community, there's been several names from historically that the district was called. We once was looking at New Covington and could not go with that. And then I sat and talked with Rick, Councilman Rick, and we came up with the term to go with Uptown Covington. And the goal behind this is to rebrand the district, put a more positive name on it for the community, and hopefully bring in, some more businesses, get a positive twist out of it for the community, and also with the youth. And we won't have this gang thing going on in the community.
Okay. All right, we're going to go to any public comments on this? We'll open it up for public. Hearing none, seeing none. Let's see, we don't have to close the public comment on this one, okay. Council comments, and I think if anybody has anything they want to add to this. Councilman Boxford?
No, I was just, I think it's great if we can do some things, but my thing is that, and I guess I have a question to Rod before I can vote on something like this. Is this infringing upon free speech? Is it what, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, is this infringing upon free speech? in any way, shape, or form. If we're telling somebody, like, you have to call it this or you have to call it that, is it a violation of free speech at all? That's, okay.
If I read the proposed resolution correctly, it's requesting that the city of Covington, in any official comments or any official matters dealing with that area, that the city of Covington will refer to it as Uptown Covington. You cannot make anybody call it anything
Okay.
you want, but in press releases, in public
Gotcha.
reference, in official documents of the city, in correspondence, the city of Covington, as a governmental body and its members, would agree that in the future, Uptown Covington will be the nomenclature that we'll use.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that.
Not ordering, well,
Yeah.
You can't.
Right, that's what I mean. This is not ordering, making an ordering.
somehow order people
Right.
to use that terminology, it's that the city will use it.
Okay, that's why I was just clarifying that.
Although
That's
when
all.
I read it, it clearly says, press releases both public and non-public. What is supposedly meant by that? Well, exactly, so I think that this, I would just, I understand the city attorney's point, and you can't regulate free speech. I think we all get that. I would abhor trying to do so. But I think this resolution is actually asking for all meetings, publications, press releases, newspapers, city meetings, city emails, city website, both public and non-public, memos and other communications related to Council District A. So I would have a concern that it's a advertent or inadvertent attempt to regulate free speech. So I would put that out there. I've got some other comments, but I'm just, since that came up, I think the language public or non-public, I don't know how this council can possibly tell somebody that they can't refer to West 30s. In fact, two appearers tonight referenced West 30s, who are in the West 30s.
Well,
But I have some other comments, but I'll
Right.
defer them. But
are we doing council
Yeah,
comments?
Well, I
of
thought
course.
John
We in
was
council
still-
comments.
still
Okay.
I was basically clarifying the same thing in the verbiage in that. So we can actually remove that one portion, correct?
We can make a motion to make an amendment to it.
So I'd make it would we do that now, or would we do that after the rest of the comments? Rest of the comments, correct?
Let's go comments.
Okay.
Councilman Lewis, well, can you shed some insight to the survey or whatever, when you spoke to some of the residents? Is it a, somebody wanted to come change my neighborhood's name, I want to be part of that, and you feel like you've done enough talking with folks that live in what could possibly be referred to as Uptown Covington versus the West 30s? Okay, so you spoke to them, and what kind of results did you get?
From my research and meeting with them, I think I've had maybe one or two that was kind of on the fence of leaving it where it was or not changing it. And in the survey that I did, I think I had maybe 20 that completed the survey. Overwhelmingly, everybody voted toward a different name. So I think I did my research. It's been almost a year now. Talking with people, meeting with people, finding the history from when it was originally called the Waters. Then when I was growing up, it was called the Covington. And then it was then branded to the West 30s. And now it has a stigma with my youth, which is why you and I had that conversation a while back.
Any other
Yeah,
comments?
Yeah, I have a few.
Councilman Barrett?
I'm looking at, first of all, let me just begin by saying that I've talked to Peter about this numerous times, and I've talked to numerous council members, so the public needs to know that. Some of the questions I have, for example, and I heard it again, that it was somehow branded the West 30s. I guess I'm a dinosaur in the sense that Old Landing is called Old Landing because it was an old landing. Old Covington because it was the older part of Covington. St. John, you've got Division of Spring, West 20s, I would assume came from the streets 20, 21, 22, and 30s, 30, 31, 32, 33, and so on. So I'm a little confused as to how it was branded the West 30s versus a geographic or a reference. I find myself, I've been here 25 years, I like to joke that makes me a newcomer. 2 appearers tonight. The commander referred to West 30s. I don't think he meant it in a stigma. I think he meant it as a geographic location. That's what I'm saying. There is no branding that I'm aware of. I know the old land
Might
is not
I
branded.
interject? Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yes.
Well, I think the mayor has a comment.
Yeah, when the North Shore Community Foundation put together a study to list out those things that we as a community could do to improve the quality of life of that neighborhood, going all the way into housing, removing blighted housing, upgrading Peter Atkins Park, which we have done over the years. The members of that task force, which would include then District A Councilwoman Frances Dunn, LMA, Bo Elzey, leaders of the community at that time, recognizing some of the detrimental names that had been used, derogatory names that had been used, they are the ones who said, let's call it, in that study, if Nikita were here and you were to pull it out, it says the West 30s study, and it actually identifies the specific historic black neighborhood, which boundaries do not necessarily overlap District A or District B. So he is correct. It was not in his child, and when I was young, when you were young, it was not called the West 30s. That was something that Councilwoman Dunn and those folks did.
See, and that's historical clarification, that I think is important.
Even when I was growing up, it wasn't West 30. It was New Covington when I was growing up. My deed says New Covington. I stay on 26. But I'm constantly called West 30. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Well, okay, so let's have this conversation versus comments. I think that's basically what we should do as public servants and need to do more of it. Community meetings. I have a concern. It's not my district, okay? But I would have a concern of all of a sudden calling District E Bywater because it's next to water versus Old Covington or Old Landing. I don't know how my constituents would think about something like that, So back to the branding. Is this council now branding an entire area of the city with a name that has never been used before? I have never heard the area referred to as Uptown. I've never heard of an area in our city referred to as Mid-City. I've never heard, those type of terms. So I understand and appreciate trying to get rid of any stigma. I'm totally supportive of that. I'm hesitant, however, to all of a sudden pull a name out of the air and say, well, now that's Uptown. I don't know but it certainly has no historical reference. So my only reservation in having a discussion about it would be that I would think more community involvement would need to be done, like a community meeting, and I think Joey Roberts had mentioned that at the last time it came up. I'm certainly willing to go to any meeting for that and get people's input. If Frances Dunn, who is a community leader, actually you open the book and it says Frances Dunn next to community leader, refers to it as the West 30s, I'd like to hear from Frances Dunn.
I have her full support. That was actually the first person
I would like, to hear that. I'm just hesitant to all of a sudden
But
start
it's
renaming parts of the city.
It's no different from when the West 30s came in and named it West 30s and been calling it West 30s for years.
But did they call it West 30s to create a stigma? Or did they call it West 30s like people call it the West 20s? that would be a question that I would have.
That's a good question. But we also didn't just pull out uptown either. I mean, Rick can tell you how we came up with the term.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Uptown. Rick, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll try. We were just going back and forth one day. And let me push back a little bit. Peter, rightfully so, brought to my attention, and I think everybody's aware of it. We got some violence in the city. We've got some younger kids in the city that, heck, you read about it. There's gunfire, there's stabbings. It's not happening in District D. It's happening in District A, okay? And, these kids are putting together little gangs, and they got I don't know what the sign is, but it's the West 30 sign and all that kind of good stuff. And I think what Peter's just asking is, and again, we can't tell the media how to do their work, but the city, in our emails and our phone conversations and our discussions at the council chambers, instead of saying West 30s and continuing to feed that younger generation is just thriving on that, and it's a stigma, okay? So I said, Peter, you got a very good point. And what do you suggest? He said, Rick, I think we need to kind of change the name and not refer to it as West 30s. Well, we got to thinking, and I said, well, give me some time to think about that. And from a geographic standpoint, I just got to thinking, and I said, everybody's familiar with downtown Covington. If I say downtown Covington, we all know what we're talking about, right? We're talking downtown, right there, Boston Street, Columbia, in that area, our CBD, basically. And I got to thinking about New Orleans. They've got downtown New Orleans. We all know what downtown New Orleans is, and it's based on the Mississippi River. You're either downriver or you're upriver, okay? Uptown New Orleans is upriver. Downtown New Orleans is down. So the French Quarter and Canal Street's downtown. Uptown's up Tulane University, that area, right? Riverbend area, that's uptown. Well, I started thinking about it. I said, Peter, let's see, we got downtown. We've got rivers. The river, downtown's downtown. On the river, when you look at the West 30s, that's uptown. How about uptown Covington? People start referring to it. It probably won't go over big with the public anytime soon. But, over the years, if the city always refers to it as uptown, and maybe the media starts referring to it as District A, uptown Covington, it's got potential to grow, okay? And then that's kind of a new mindset. And uptown, hey, if I was looking to put a business in District A with the negative publicity they get because of violence and stuff, I don't think I'm too interested in West 30s, but I'm interested in looking at what's this uptown thing. Uptown Covington might be a good location, okay? I don't see where there's any harm in it. The only harm I had and the concerns I had, I said, Peter, there are a lot of people that been living here a lot longer than me or you, okay, older than you. And Miss Francis, I know Bo Elsie. Go get some feedback. Do some surveying. Talk to your people in your district and feel how it goes. And he's just telling me he's had like 2 people that said, damn, they weren't too thrilled about it. But the vast majority, including Miss Francis, you're saying, thinks it's a good idea. I don't personally have a problem ever sitting here at a council meeting or sending out an email or talking about District A is uptown Covington. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think John's got a very good point. The way the resolution's written, we may want to make a change and address this at the very next meeting, eliminating the public comments. We asked the public not to. That could be infringing on somebody's freedom of speech. But I think if the city would just start using it and working with it, I think you could be on to something. So that's my comments on it.
So do you have a recommendation? Are you adding a recommendation at this point?
I would like to see us table this one more time, just to change it, as opposed to doing it tonight, and changing it and looking at the wording of the resolution again, so that the resolution is more directed toward city usage or elimination of the city using West 30s, and now refer to it as Uptown Covington.
Yeah, and I'll second that, that I'm certainly, you know, I'm a marketer and I love rebranding, and I certainly agree it needs a refresh, so I'm not opposed to, like you said, no harm. I would like to see like the survey, or that would be helpful just to kind of confirm, because I certainly don't want to get on Miss Frances's bad side. I love her, and she loves me. But yeah, so I would love to see the survey, just to make sure we're not stepping on any toes, because it's not, I mean, you know, I feel funny imposing my will on someone in particular, but as, you know, if the community's behind it, I love a rebrand. I certainly think that that area, especially the youth, you know, feel strongly about changing those paths and futures. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's just get the verbiage nailed down and get some like hard, not that saying I don't take your word for it, Peter, of course, but just if we could see the survey, I think that would be helpful, or whatever, just to kind of make sure that we're not overstepping our boundaries.
And I think it's a good idea. That's why I raised the issue. I think if we, from my vantage point, I would like to see something more from the community, that I'm not imposing my will as a city councilman. And then secondly, to clean up the language, because I don't see how we can tell the newspaper, for example, what they can say and what they can't say. In fact, you can't. No more than I can tell a constituent, oh, you can't use that, I'm going to go get the code enforcement officer. I don't think that's what we're contemplating, but we do need to clean that up, certainly.
And one thing I would like to say, too, is I would love to be part of a community discussion on that. You know, I think all of us would probably show up, you know, if we knew ahead of time
Agreed.
in these chambers, to just bring the public here and just hear, you know, their thought process and see what else might come out of it. But I agree. I think if we go back one more time, kind of look at maybe have something for the community that we can all attend, or see the survey like Cody was just saying, and then we can just bring it back one more time. So if we in agreement on that, Mr. Rodrigue, to table it, do we just need just a motion from any, and then unanimous vote? Okay, the majority. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. So,
Yeah, I just
Councilman
want to say,
Boxer, you had something before we move
yeah,
forward?
like I said, just to clarify, my only issue is just the verbiage, or, you know, the language in the proposal here. But as far as trying to make the district without a stigma of negativity, I think Peter's on the right track.
Okay, so what we'd like to do at this point is, I need a motion to table, and then we'll vote, we'll get a second and vote on that.
You already did, right?
I thought Rick already made a motion to table.
Yeah.
I'll do it again. Make a motion to table.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, and we have a second?
And
Okay, second? Okay, roll call?
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling.
Yes.
Councilman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
All righty, thank you. So if you wouldn't mind just letting us know ahead of time, would love to be here and kind of hear the comments and all that good stuff. Thank you. Well, it was a resolution, yeah. But it sounds like Councilman Lewis is going to put something together that I think anybody from the city can come, and community and council and administration. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Resolution number 2021-20, a resolution of the Covington City Council authorizing the mayor to execute a continuing agreement between St. Tammany Parish Sales Tax District Number 3 and the City of Covington to establish a process and procedure for the resolution of present and future misallocations of Sales Tax District 3 sales tax proceeds. Councilman Smith. Okay, that was quick.
This has been a long, ongoing matter between the city and the parish that hasn't actually come up during this administration. But as you all know, the sheriff of St. Tammany Parish collects the sales tax for all of the government entities in the parish. And an issue arose at least 8 years ago, where there was a problem where sales tax collecting, or businesses that were remitting sales tax to the sheriff who had a Covington address but were outside of the city limits of Covington were erroneously encoding their sales tax remittance, where the sheriff was provided with inaccurate information, which resulted in the city of Covington receiving sales tax proceeds that were literally not ours. In other words, a perfect example, Lakeview Hospital, nowhere near the city of Covington, was miscoding their sales tax collections on their pharmacy, for example, and the sheriff was paying them to us. They were not ours. The total of misallocated sales tax revenue was a very substantial figure. Over the years in the Cooper administration, the council budgeted $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year for this reimbursement. We acknowledged it wasn't our money, we're not entitled to this money, and we set up a budget item and reimbursed the parish. An issue arose relative to the term of the exposure that the city would be responsible for the reimbursement. In other words, the way that the sheriff determines that in fact a misallocation occurred, and the amount of that misallocation is through an audit of that business. Those audits may occur in a year, they may occur in 2 years, they may occur in 5 years. The city raised the issue that, or there was a bone of contention between the city and the parish over how long the sheriff could look back and require reimbursement from us. Parish wanted unlimited reimbursement. We don't care if they paid it to you 10 years ago. You got to give it back to us. In the second to last year of the Cooper administration, there was a meeting in Baton Rouge with the state legislative auditor, which was attended by the parish, the city, I think the town. This is also occurring in Slidell, Mandeville, Abita. It's not unique to the city of Covington. And this meeting was attended by various municipalities to try to determine what would be the legal time frame within which the city would be responsible for this reimbursement. It was in the belief of the city of Covington that the time frame, or what we call the look-back period, would be limited to a term of 3 years, plus the year that you're in right now. And this is one of those items that has been negotiated, renegotiated. There have been multiple drafts of agreements, and we have finally reached a mutual agreement with the parish and sales tax district number 3, wherein the parish is honoring what we believe to be the guidance resulting from that meeting in Baton Rouge. And what this agreement does is, if there is a perceived sales tax misallocation, whether that misallocation is initiated by the parish based on some information they have that a sales tax or a retail entity is remitting erroneously, coding their remittance erroneously, or if the sheriff through an audit determines, gee whiz, we've paid the city $100,000 on your sales tax remittance, but when we audit you, we find out you're not in the city limits and you coded yourself in the city limits because you got a 70433 address, but you're wrong, you don't understand where the sales tax district lies. The sales tax district is not 70433. The sales tax district is not having a city of Covington. It's city limits of Covington or the growth management areas. So what this agreement does is it says, look, we don't care whether the city tells them, the parish tells them, or the sheriff finds it. The obligation of the city of Covington to reimburse the parish for misallocated sales tax revenue will be a 3-year look-back period from the time that the sheriff's audit advises us that there was a misallocation and the amount of that misallocation, and the year that we're in now. The importance of that is, as I mentioned to you, right now the sheriff is probably 2 years behind in their audits. So we have reached this agreement that it's upon official notification from the sales tax collector relative to a misallocation that the 3-year look-back period will run. And we will not owe any money, misallocated or not, prior to the 3-year anniversary of the audit results provided by the sheriff. So that's what we're attempting to do.
But this amount, as it sits right now, if we agree on this, we're agreeing that we owe the parish $549,000.
We owe them that already.
Right, but
That's from previous amounts, yeah.
But that was my question.
Yeah.
Is it from only the
Yes,
three?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, that number, Gina Hayes, who was once my seat, she and I, now that she's with the parish, we've talked about that number. We've compared notes, and we also ran that number by the sheriff's office for their concurrence as well.
So
we
has
all
this
agree on
council ever appropriated $100,000
It's already,
during?
it's been sitting there.
Yeah, that money has been appropriated over several budget periods. We weren't going to pay them until we had a deal. Now, if we agree to this, and the parish agrees to this, and we sign, we're going to remit it. We knew we owed it, but we wanted to define the parameters going forward.
And we don't need to amend this budget to pay an annual, but going forward, we would have theoretically, I suppose, in our budget, $100,000 every year?
We actually have this full amount now accounted for on the budget.
Because we're not paying them $549, $170, $128, right?
We have.
And you
we
have
the
that
choice.
set aside, cast
Remember, it's
aside?
come from several years, but we knew it was coming, but we didn't remit it. It's been budgeted over several periods of several budget terms. It's been accumulated. We knew we owed it, but we knew we were close to having an agreement. We didn't want to remit until we had a deal.
And that makes a lot of sense. Now I'm going to ask a stupid question, a ridiculous question. How in the world are we sitting here at 549, 170, 128? Is it the sheriff's department that's not doing? Is it, I don't want to let anybody off the hook, and I want an audit.
No. I mean, how did it happen?
No. I get how it happened, but is part of the agreement to just say, well, you know, the sheriff's department's 2 years behind. We don't know what this figure's going to be. It could come back at theoretically any number if it's misappropriated, right? It could. So does this agreement, does it let anybody off the hook, so to speak, or does it have any accountability? Or is it simply just a financial mechanism to say, this is what's owed, and we're going to pay it?
And there's another provision in there that if it's more than a certain amount, we can pay it over a number of years, so we don't get into.
I mean, it would seem to me, and this is not directed necessarily to administration, that's why I think it's a stupid question, but yet if you think about it, it's common sense. We're not talking about small numbers here. That jumped off the page to me. Over half a, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
We paid them back over $1 million before but again, it's not our money.
Now, does this affect
We know
that?
it was misallocated, we know it's their money.
This has nothing to do with, for example, we get our shared revenue, growth management tax.
No, we get, that's.
So this is just, somebody's not doing something right, and we gotta figure it out down the road 4 years.
This is money that's outside of the sales tax allocation agreement. This is money that, literally, the best example is some
Hospital.
sales tax proceeds coming from Lakeview Regional Hospital.
Coded wrong.
And it's ours, but they coded it to the city of Covington, and the sheriff had to find it.
So you find the good news in this is that it's gonna cut it off at 3+1.
That's right. They can't go back.
Right.
They can't go back beyond that
So
after the
nobody's
audit.
looking at how to fix it necessarily.
And frankly, I believe things have gotten a lot better. There may have been an educational effort to the businesses to protect, you just can't,
I think they've been,
see on your mailing address that you're in the city of Covington and code your sales tax proceeds to the city of Covington. And the sheriff's office. Yeah.
I believe,
So
Yeah.
once it came up,
I guess that's what I'm looking for, is some type of assurance that this is, okay, this is gonna handle this, but who's minding the store here?
an education of the vendors.
educating the business entities. I think they have upgraded the education part, so people aren't miscoding and that's what the sheriff, he went by their forms, and my,
So did I hear correctly that it's fixed moving forward, and we won't be back in the same position?
it could be,
No,
but
that was my
we've got
question.
limitations.
Well, again, the sales tax remittance is coded by the sales tax entity. In other words,
Business.
the Walmart codes its taxes when it remits it to the sheriff. And then the sheriff relies on that unless they find out that they're miscoding. We believe that the sheriff has done a good job and made an effort to educate the various retail entities that having a Covington address or having a 70433 address does not mean you code your sales tax to be
To the
remitted
city.
to the city of Covington. It means you code it to where you're supposed to be.
Well, maybe after doing this,
That has eliminated a very, very large portion of this stuff. Yeah, getting a heck of a lot better.
I'm gonna support it because I understand it, but I think maybe a resolution from the city council to say, to all the players involved, that this is an issue and this is a problem and we're asking for it to be addressed the best they can. Instead of just trusting that, well, the sheriff's department's doing a good job, they got some problems and da-da-da.
It has been seriously addressed for at least the last 6 years, or maybe 8 years, and concerted efforts have been made to deal with it, is all I can tell you.
Right.
So if I understand this correctly, what we're discussing here with that 500,000 or 500, I don't have the number in front of me. That money has been set aside through former budgets under Mayor Cooper's administration when a few of us were on the council. That money has been sitting where, in the general fund? Where do we keep that, or do we have a separate
It's
location
accounted
for
in a
those
separate
dollars?
Fund, so to speak.
What was that? I'm sorry.
It's accounted for in a separate fund.
In a separate
account.
fund? Just knowing a payback
Standalone
fund,
account.
or whatever we wanted to call it, okay? So the money's there. So it's not like we've got to amend anything on this budget. It's there. We just didn't want to pay it until we got some protection for the future, basically. We didn't want the same thing to happen where they could come back and say, oh, 8 years ago, y'all, we messed this one up, okay? So now, it's basically saying from the time that the mistake may have been discovered through an audit, there's only a 3-year look-back period. And that's all we would have to be responsible for. And if the numbers are too big, from what I'm gathering, there's for lack of a better term, there's a payment term, a payment agreement, where we don't have to come back if it says, oh, y'all owe us 800,000 was misappropriated. That 800,000 may be spread out over the next 8 years, maybe at $100,000 on a payback. And who knows how bad it would have gotten had the state won in that last election, then they would have took over, because, I mean, we're dealing with people that are kind of familiar with St. Tammany Parish. it was kind of scary to think that the state would come in here and start collecting things. It would took them maybe forever to figure this out. But I get it, and I think it's a fair deal.
I get it, and I thank you for explaining it as well as you did. I just, when I read it, it says, a continuing agreement between St. Tammany Parish, the Sales Tax District Number 3, and the City of Covington, and this is the kicker, to establish a process and procedure for the resolution of present and future misallocations. I think I'm going to try my hand at trying to write something to say after we approve it and after it gets done, just a resolution from this council to say, look at your procedures, St. Tammany Parish, the Sheriff's Office, Sales Tax District 3, and the City of Covington to establish a process and procedure for future misallocations of the sales tax. They may be doing everything they can. To me, it's just shocking that this kind of money, that's a pretty big figure, to say, well, yeah, it's because people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, then tell them how to do it and fix it, That's, I don't know, sometimes common sense is a little overlooked. But anyway, so my colleagues know where I'm going with that. I think we do try to fix it. I think it's a heck of a deal in the sense of not having to be any more than 100 per year going forward for something that we don't know. And yet, maybe as a public body, send something to say, look at your procedures and make sure they're the best they can be.
Because I can see that, how many people think they actually live in the city of Covington? And they're nowhere close, okay? It's because they got the 70433 and they call themselves, and their address is in Covington. So I can see a business saying, hey, when they're filling out the forms, et cetera, maybe the forms need to be simplified and have better instructions on them. So that's part of,
I wouldn't
we
have
could
a
probably.
problem with them giving a donation, but it appears that
Right.
the parish wants theirs.
They want their donation back. It wasn't a
Yeah.
donation.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, we appreciate that, very much so. Anyone from the public has a comment on this? Any other council comments? I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
Any second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis, Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Resolution number 2021-21, a resolution authorizing the City of Covington to join with the State of Louisiana and other local governmental units as a participant in the Louisiana State Local Government Opioid Litigation Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, a subsequent formal agreements necessary to implement the MOU, including but not limited to the subdivision, my page is turning, settlement participation forms in Exhibit K of the National Distributor Settlement Agreement and the Janssen Settlement Agreement. Councilman Verret, you ready for that?
Yes, sir. And I do agree that y'all are putting a lot of words on that.
These are major.
But anyway, look, back in Cooper's administration, the city of Covington joined in litigation over the opioid litigation that was going on all throughout the country. And the fact of the matter is, I think everybody at this point recognizes that there was some harm because of that epidemic. The state of Louisiana has been actively involved with the Attorney General in trying to put together some kind of allocation. And the fact of the matter is, what this resolution does, and I'll defer to Rod, but basically we're at a crossroads where there's a memorandum of understanding where we can either opt in or opt out. And if we opt out, we're more than likely going to be alone and getting a lot less money. And so that's the crux of it.
We're joining numerous other municipalities in a settlement apparently spearheaded by these dollars. And I'm not 100% positive, but they end up where they allocate a certain amount of money to the state and then through the MOU, individual participants will determine some amount. This is just to stay in the process. We've reached the point
Okay, we're going to go right into public comments. Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, right into council comments. Any?
Yes.
Councilman
I think
Smith?
it would be foolish on our part to opt out. Our community, it's been affected by opioid use and there's expenses and everything else that are involved with that. And by opting in, that means we're staying in this class action suit basically with a settlement going to the state. The state finally comes to a settlement. People that opt in, I don't know how it's going to be divvied up. It may be by population or something like that. I don't know, but if we opt out, I think we would be making a mistake.
Appreciate those comments. Anything else? Councilman Lewis? Do you have something?
Yeah, I guess thinking ahead, any idea what the funds would be used for?
If I recall correctly, they have to be used in some sort of rehabilitation or something opioid-centric. We don't just get to go spend them any way we want to.
Right.
Okay, any other comments?
No.
All right. I need to entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis,
Yes.
Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, resolution number 2021-22, a resolution of the City of Covington Council confirming the appointment of Keith Villery as the District E appointee to the Covington Planning and Zoning Commission to fill an unexpired term. Councilman Verret again.
Since we didn't have any controversial issues today, I thought this might be a good one on the end. It was not punishment to make you wait, however. I think the prospective appointee is known to all of us, and I had some comments to make, and then I said, I'm sure he's got a website, right? And so when I went to the website, it's pretty spot on with what I would have said. So if you'll indulge me, Keith Villery is recognized as a community leader and a former elected official who revitalized downtown Covington. His training as a landscape architect has brought professional design and environmental planning to the forefront. An advocate of quality in community design, Villery drafted the first landscape ordinance in Louisiana in St. Tammany Parish while working as a community development planner with the parish planning department. He is known throughout our area for his dedication to community and was a moving force behind the formation of community organizations such as the Covington Gardens Partnership, Covington Farmers Market, St. Tammany Work Initiative Network, Columbia Street Landing Concerts, Three Rivers Art Festival, and the spring and fall art walks of Covington. Keith served 3 consecutive terms as mayor of Covington and was recently honored by his profession, being named a Fellow of Landscape Architecture by the American Society of Landscape Architects. So first of all, Keith, thank you for serving the community, and double thank you for wanting to do this. It's not easy, as you can tell from listening, and you're being reminded of it tonight. I think you'll be an excellent addition. I think your heart's in a good place, and I thank you for wanting to serve. And I think this is in your wheelhouse, and I think a lot is expected of you on there.
No pressure.
So with that, would you
Before
like
we-
to make any comments?
Before we go into that, real quick, does anyone from the public? And any other council comments before Keith takes the podium? Okay.
I appreciate you considering
Right.
me. And actually, I started working in zoning in Covington in, I think, about 1979 as a planner with the Regional Planning Commission. And I did all the zoning and subdivision administration for the city of Covington. And we changed a lot of laws over the years, and it's been, it's an evolutionary process. So I appreciate the consideration.
Well, thank you for your willingness to serve. If this council does vote that way, the last appointee had a little, what I called oath envy, because he was not able to make it, and part of your penance will be to actually take the oath before the council, if they vote in that direction.
Any other council comments?
Keith, Mr. Villery, could you take that podium one more time? I know your history on that, on what you did with P&Z before, and you did make changes, et cetera. You may have been in the audience tonight when Clarence Romage was at the mic, or did you step out?
I stepped out.
Okay. I'm just curious, what's your feelings on growth in our city, residential density? We're actually considering the opportunity of putting a moratorium so that we can sit down and study subdivision regulations, traffic. We can get with the state and maybe do a thorough traffic study. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's a need for some additional opportunities for development. I don't like moratoriums. I just don't think it's a really good idea. But because I think, that the rules need to, you made the rules and then you're going to say we're going to stop everybody. I do think there's a need to look at things like traditional neighborhood developments that the parish has an ordinance. I think that it would be very well suited for north of Ronald Reagan Highway, because a lot of that property could come into the city. As far as density, I think that one of the problems we have in the parish is that there's no connectivity. In Covington, we've got great connectivity. We've got a grid system. So if Tyler Street's backed up, you go another way. And most of the people who live here know that. The people that don't live here are sitting in the line on Tyler Street and 21st. I think there's a need for traffic calming in a lot of areas. I think especially in downtown. I think we had a lot of accidents recently. Traffic calming is a concept that could be utilized in the downtown area. So I think there's a lot of concepts that could be put into what's happening right now. I don't have a problem with density. I have, if you look at New Covington, and I live in New Covington, the division of New Covington is everything, most everything in the city except for the old division of Spring, Commerce, Virtue, and there's a lot of different divisions, but I'm on 7th Avenue off of Yankee. I'm in New Covington. But we have a very dense city. If you look at a 60-foot lot, most of our lots are 60 foot. I think there's some other opportunities with regard to swapping, people that have a lot of these low areas, but they're lots. And I think there's a need to really look at swapping those up, swapping the right-of-way to be able to capture land along these drainage areas so that the city can maintain these drainage areas. So I think there's a lot of needs, but I don't have a problem with density. I just think that it needs to be, we have downtown and we have all of our neighborhoods. Rick, you live on a 60-foot by 120-foot lot. And is that bad?
No, I enjoy it.
It's probably the most valuable property in the city of Covington, that neighborhood.
And you get connectivity.
You have more than one lot, but, and some people have more than one lot, but they can always sell them. I think that, we also have a problem with infill and the problem with drainage that's going to be aggravated, whenever. There's a lot of pressure on Covington right now.
I think what I was suggesting is not so much old Covington that's got the grid that we have and connectivity that we have, but our growth is going out toward Reagan Highway.
It is.
And those newer subdivisions don't have that. They do sit on Collins Boulevard. They do sit, in traffic all the time. It bothers me when we have projects that have the capability of putting another 400 or 500 automobiles on those same streets. So when we were talking moratorium, I just wanted a moratorium concept, and that's got to be voted on, but if it were, it gives you a time, not to say the ones that are in the pipeline and have their permits and their projects are going, we're not going to be able to do anything about that. But at some point, if we decide to do this, there will be no more permits issued for the next 6 months dealing with larger developments, multi-family developments, until we study, and that's where the P&Z is going to come in, study building regulations, subdivision regulations, and see if we can't beef that stuff up. And then, the council and P&Z will have to work together on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but have you finished the future land use plan that you're working on now?
Well, we
Is
had.
there one happening right now? Huh?
It's pretty much done.
It's done, it's been approved by the council? But did it get approved by the council?
Yes, it came to the
Well, I don't know how
council.
you can stop development if you just approved the
Well,
plan.
because, you can always say, you know what, we should have given some thought to something, okay?
Yeah, well, I
And we left it
understand
out.
that. You might not have had the right people.
And I think
doing
if we
it,
can
but-
do it legally, I would be all for that, but I would hope that the P&Z Commission would also support something like that for a period of intense study to see if we don't need to beef up regulations and things like that.
Well, I think it's, I'm certain it's a council action to moratorium on anything. I think that, my concern is that you just went through this process, this visioning process, this land use process, this whole comprehensive planning process, and now you're saying, oh, we want to stop and start over. And, you missed an opportunity, not to say that it's an evolution, the laws change, but I don't, the traffic is bad because the parish has a problem with connectivity. The city itself doesn't. I think on the north side of Ronald Reagan Highway, I think a traditional neighborhood type development, similar to something like Terabella, where there's a downtown area that people don't have to go on the road everywhere. In your neighborhood, you can walk to downtown, and downtown has restaurants, bars, everything, shopping, most everything. You might have to go out of town. It has a grocery store. And that's the problem, is that most of the neighborhoods that are developed today don't have that. And so everybody's got to hop in.
That's what
the
I'm
car.
suggesting, is subdivision regulations, maybe we can change things.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. I totally
That we
agree.
don't have on the books today. Number one, a pet peeve of mine is subdivisions built without sidewalks. That's just me, because most subdivisions attract either retired folks or young families. Those young families have children, young children ride bikes. Older retired people like to walk their neighborhoods. I just don't like seeing them on these developments with these narrow streets, and you get cars parked and you got little kids on bikes. That kind of stuff bothers me. But they can get away with it without building regulations today. Those are things that I think need to be changed, or at least really considered and evaluated.
Yeah,
But-
I think, I've been involved with a lot of placemaking things and a lot of traditional neighborhood stuff.
Right.
What's happening in other communities is not really happening here. And I don't know why, but I think it's because the parish is controlled by developers. And I think that the city needs to be in more control. I totally agree with you.
And I'm sure we'll have an
Now,
opportunity to
you
discuss
know
this.
that's a good
We'll discuss this
selection
more.
if he's agreeing with him and he's agreeing with you. I think we are making progress in this city
But I would-
already.
And I think the council and the planning commission needs to work a little more
Yeah, I
in
do
concert
too.
with each other so that they know, that they're on the
I do
same
too.
page. I'm just disappointed in the fact that you went through this whole process, and now you're saying, wait, we need to do it.
There were a lot of things a lot of recommendations made about drainage and infrastructure and things like that. That
About what,
didn't,
I'm sorry?
about like the drainage and the infrastructure and the traffic and things like that, that were addressed in that plan. So it was definitely looked at, and we said, yes, this was one of our major concerns. So that was brought into the plan. So,
I don't think we did enough with it, but
I commented on the plan, I don't know if it made it in the final draft.
All righty. Any
All
other
right, let's
council
vote.
comments? I would entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Need a second, please?
second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Lewis? Councilman Botsford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig?
Yes.
Councilman Barrett?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Rowling?
Yes. Mr. Villery, thank you for what you have done for the city. We appreciate it.
And now
very
we
much.
need an oath. No, come on, let's do a little thing. We don't want oath envy.
All righty, thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move right into comments and reports. We're going to move right into District A, Councilman Lewis.
I think I talked the most tonight. Let's see. I want to remind everybody about the United Way Financial Fitness Calendar. You can find it on their website at Southeast LA United Way. I also remind you about the VFW indoor-outdoor event Saturday from 8 to 4. Anybody have questions can contact Ms. Tiffany, 985-710-5699. Next event, reminder about the MLK Day. That's coming up January 17th. The theme this year is Past, Present, and Future, and we're going to be focused on the city not being undivided. We are still looking for volunteers. As usual, it's going to be full of education and some exciting surprises that I'm not going to mention tonight, so you'll have to attend to see it. On the 15th, we will still have the traditional free breakfast program that will be hosted by Ms. Frances Dunn and her local church. And then on the 17th, of course, will be the march from Peter Atkins Park to the auditorium, which starts at 9, and the program will start at 11. And just to give you some of our lineup thus far, we will have one of our own here from Covington, Louisiana, Dr. Raymond Ankrum of New York, Sisters for Life from Mississippi, Godly Theatrics from Mississippi, and a few more, again, that I won't mention yet. Anybody that want to attend or be involved, you are welcome. We still need a lot of youth to put on the program this year. I'm doing a little twist with it. So if you know any kids or youth that want to be involved, please get in contact with myself or Ashley at 985-201-9188. And one more thing, on February 26th, from 8 to 1, there will be a Mardi Gras Masquerade Ball at 2031 Ronald Reagan Highway at the VFW Post 7286. 2013, okay, I got dyslexia today. All right, there are still 4 tables available, singles, couples, all that's still available. He will have special guests, hosts, and prizes will be given out. You can contact number is 985-590-0997. Oh, yeah, and Merry Christmas, everybody. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. District B, Councilman Boxford.
Okay, so the food bank's update for the food bank for November, there was 106 daily households served, 121 daily boxes. Total number for November 2021 was 1,428 total households, 1,692 total boxes. Year-to-date was 15,196 houses served, 17,292 boxes. Palace with a Purpose, they had more than 200 guests, so it was a huge success. Holiday meals, they did 600 holiday meals that had traditional Thanksgiving boxes. Food drives, there was more than 90,000 pounds of food were raised in November, which is great. Giving Tuesday, they surpassed their expectations of $20,000. And December is always busy as well with the holidays and stuff, so if you could donate, please do so. Food drives are, greatly appreciated. And the North Shore Food Bank will be closed from December 27th to the December 31st. They will reopen Monday, January 3rd. Also, the farmers market's this Saturday. Please come out for that. Remember, this is the Christmas season, so please shop local. Our local businesses and everybody really needs it. It's better than, they don't have any supply chain holdups, so it's always a bonus. So please go out and support them. And just to let you know, we'll wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Also, on a personal side, my Porch Fest I'm just kind of proud that we raised about $4,000 for the Hope House this year. So that was a great event. And that's it.
Did you have anything for Councilman Roberts to mention? Okay. Just want to make sure.
I'm sorry, for District C, he said we'd take a moment to play for the Fetter family with the passing of Joseph Buddy Fetter. He served on our P&Z Commission, was true hero Covington. That's the only thing that I have for District C.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving on to District D, Councilwoman Ludwig.
All right, I have an update from Melissa, the Director of Communications at the hospital. We are thankfully 7 COVID cases and a census of 200. She encourages everyone to get vaccinated and boosters. And then just some other kind of congratulatory news on they just received their TAVR certification for heart valve replacement excellence, which is apparently in the medical world a very good thing. So that's it for the hospitals, thankfully. No too much drama there. And then event-wise, we're kind of wrapping it up. We have the caroling. Have y'all found it was supposed to be tonight, but they moved it a week from Friday. The 17th? Okay, so caroling on the 17th, and
That's hot off the press, right?
yeah,
Breaking
that's
news.
breaking news. That's why I have it in my notes to ask you because I saw they canceled it, which is great. Now we can attend. But no, that's really all. Just Merry Christmas and yeah, Mr. Fetter was wonderful. We served on P&Z together, and Keith, I didn't get to speak, but you're the mayor of my whole childhood, so I'm more than happy to get to work with you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to District E, Councilman.
Didn't that make you feel young when she said
I
that?
didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying, like, now we're grown-ups together.
All right, so first, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Last council meeting of the year. Shop local. I always joke that, by the time they get to me, everything's covered, which is a good thing. Rick, you're not going to have anything left. Bad situation. You're worse. Let's see. Election. There's an election Saturday. You can tell because there's signs illegally placed all over our city. So please get out and vote. And whether you're pro or con, exercise your right. And it's my wife's birthday today, so thank you for making this one of the longest meetings unnecessarily. But happy birthday, Kelly, and that's all I've got.
I love that. And there's only one thing on a ballot, too, so it should be very quick. Okay, Councilman at Large, Smith.
I'm going to be quick, but it's going to be redundant. Shop local. I agree with everybody that mentioned that. Our businesses can definitely offer an easy way for you to do your Christmas shopping, and it's also a good way to support them. And in return, it supports the city. So shop local. Merry Christmas to everyone. Enjoy this time with your families. The budget, I want to thank the administration. I know y'all some of us worked harder than others, I'm sure, okay? But thanks for working with the council. Y'all did a great job. I was really happy that we were able to add enough money to maybe get some playground equipment over at your first park in District B, okay? Which was, in my opinion, much needed. But other than that, I think I wish all of you guys a happy Christmas and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Just echoing what Councilman Smith is saying about the budget process, we appreciate everybody here, all the members of the council and administration, all the hard work they've done. The only thing I want to mention real quick, I'm getting hoarse by now, as you can tell. My eyes are like drying up over here. But anyway, I do want to announce this before the press release goes out, but Carnival in Covington, believe it or not, Mardi Gras Day celebration is 82 days away. And I know once we get through the holidays and by the time we get through New Year's, it's going to be like really close. So again, the parade for the city is March 1st, 2022. And I want to announce our Grand Marshal. I don't know, some of y'all might have heard this already, but I know this is being taped, and that's why I want to get it on tape, that Haley Arsenault, she's from the North Shore. She's the astronaut that went into space in September 16, 2021. She was the youngest to go into space, and she will be our Grand Marshal. So we were very excited about that. Also, we have some honorary grand marshals this year. We really wanted to do this last year when before the parade was canceled. Our board recommended, because of the COVID pandemic, we were going to honor medical heroes in our community. So I contacted Lakeview Regional, St. Tammany Hospital, Oshner, and Slidell Memorial to see if they wanted to get involved in this process to honor on a float the medical heroes of this community. And they are all on board this year, so we're going to have our honorary grand marshals from one from each hospital that'll be on the floats coming through downtown Covington, and they're going to be honored by the public, and we'll honor them at our Trailhead event, which is now being called the Tammany Gras. So that's going to be the music event after the parade. We have soul revivals and entertainment, and also we'll have food and drinks, et cetera, over there, and music. And so it's going to be a nice time, Mardi Gras Day. So I wanted to go ahead and mention that. And that's all I have at this moment, and I'll turn it over to Mayor Mark.
So that means it's Fat Tammany?
We can rename it if you'd like. We can do that.
If Mardi Gras is Fat Tuesday, then Tammany
That's
Gras
right.
would be Fat
Kinda like
Tammany.
that. We have to kind of
Yeah,
figure
there
that
you
one
go.
out.
I too would like to.
Do we need a resolution for that, maybe?
I'd
I
like
don't know.
I'd like to acknowledge the council and thank the council for the work that you folks did on the budget, because I know the public should know that the council took it very seriously, line item by line item, went through it, submitted questions to admin. Really appreciate all the work that administration did in getting your answers back, but this was the term rubber stamp got thrown out it was anything but a rubber stamp. The council went through it, and I really appreciate that. I thought this evening would be a great time for me to ask the city engineer, Callie Baker, to come up and give a very detailed report on what she's been. No, I'm just kidding.
We might need to break.
And that's probably because I called it a bedtime story last meeting.
Couple of little highlights. In front of Kehoe, France, Patricia Drive, we're down to the punch list items. This has been one of the most snake-bit projects I've ever been associated with, so it's really excited to see it coming down to the end. And then they need to restore West 15th Avenue right there. One of the takeaways from doing that project is that the clay base underneath the streets in River Forest is very bad for building roads on. It's one of the reasons why our roads, they lasted 50, 60 years. They did well. But in our design of Lurleen and the project that we're doing there, we've actually had to stop the engineer and restart them on the design work to take into account this mucky clay that's under there. We have contracts are in place now for concrete panel replacements in Oak Alley, River Forest, and in the Savannas. The worst of the concrete panels, that work will begin after the first of the year. Earlier this year, Public Works identified the worst patches that we have throughout the city, what they perceive to be the worst. When we drive through downtown or typically where we did our sewer point repairs, they identified the worst. The ones outside of downtown, they tackled themselves, and they repaired dozens and dozens, so thanks to them. Regarding the asphalts, the rough spots in downtown, Lowe's Brothers Construction should begin repairing and replacing the 10 worst locations in the next couple of weeks. Next week, we will also begin return to sewer line repairs in downtown. This next round should finish up the repair work in that area. At the wastewater treatment plant, the engineer is finishing the design for the new effluent pump. At Nose Park, the asphalt track, we're in the contract phase as we're drawing up the contract to do that work. And regarding the new sewer force main on Highway 190 that accommodates the Purvet track, that should go out for construction bid in January. So all of those are good things that are happening to our infrastructure. We all know working on the budget that's been a big focus.